The UK was uniquely placed to stop a massacre in Sudan's Darfur, but failed to act because of political capture by the United Arab Emirates. That's what a top human rights investigator told MPs in London this week. Nathaniel Raymond, founding director of the Humanitarian Research Lab at Yale University, was giving testimony to a parliamentary committee in London on the siege and capture of el-Fasher, and whether more could have been done to avoid the atrocities that unfolded there. An estimated 60,000 people were slaughtered when UAE-backed Rapid Support Forces paramilitaries stormed the North Darfur state capital in October 2025 after more than 550 days of siege. Survivors have described to Middle East Eye witnessing summary executions, rape and other kinds of atrocities as the city fell. They even told us how RSF fighters withdrew blood from civilians under duress. Raymond told MPs that he was in regular contact with officials at the UK's Foreign Office throughout those 18 months of siege, warning of the unfolding catastrophe and making recommendations to avoid what he called the single largest mass casualty event of the 21st century. El-Fasher and the area around it, which included several camps housing Sudanese displaced in a genocide 2 decades ago, had a population comparable to 3/4 of the Gaza Strip. Tragically, it appears that those repeated warnings were ignored, questioned, or dismissed. Raymond recalled meeting Foreign Office officials twice in May 2024, a time when Britain was drafting a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire in Sudan. The UK was penholder at the UN. That means they were responsible for driving the response to Sudan. And as penholder, Raymond's team believed the UK was uniquely placed to stop the massacre. Raymond gave British officials phone data that was clear evidence that there were figures moving between RSF strongholds in Sudan and the UAE, as well as Bosaso in Somalia and Ethiopia, places now known as routes through which the UAE has supplied the RSF with weapons, equipment, and mercenaries. According to Raymond, the British officials asked him to publicly release the analysis, essentially asking a private research lab in an American university to help confront the UAE for its covert support for the RSF, instead of relying on its own intelligence services. The officials, he said, told him that they were under significant private pressure behind the scenes from the UAE. In June 2024, UN Security Council 2736 was adopted, calling for an immediate ceasefire in el-Fasher. There was a brief moment of calm. A source with direct knowledge of the RSF's internal operations told Raymond that Abu Dhabi had ordered the RSF's leader, Hemeti, to pause the attack on el-Fasher so that the UAE could assess whether there would be any serious political consequences. However, British officials told Raymond that there would be none for foreign states like the UAE if the resolution was violated. Once Abu Dhabi figured that out, the attack resumed. Raymond's testimony describes failings under both Conservative and Labour governments. He told MPs how he briefed then Foreign Secretary David Lammy's team that the RSF was using advanced weapons systems from the UAE to bombard Zamzam, a camp outside el-Fasher holding 500,000 people, warning that an assault was imminent. When the attack unfolded, Lammy was hosting an international donor conference on Sudan in London. Meanwhile, 4,000 kilometres away, humanitarian and healthcare workers were executed on camera. Women and girls were taken as sexual slaves and tortured, and large portions of Zamzam were systematically burned. Lammy remained silent. El-Fasher finally fell to the RSF in October 2025. Fighters filmed themselves slaughtering civilians as they rampaged through the city. Raymond's research lab recorded blood splatter that was so large that it could be seen from space through satellites, and piles of bodies on the streets. He assessed that 60,000 people were killed in the assault and its aftermath. But, according to the investigator, a British official questioned his death toll, asking if it was too high. During a conversation, Raymond came to believe the estimate was a political problem for the Foreign Office. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has said the world must not look away from Sudan. Britain has urged the RSF to stop its assault on El Obeid, a city currently under siege in Kordofan. However, Raymond believes that the UK prioritised its economic, security and diplomatic relationships with the UAE above preventing the starvation, displacement and genocidal slaughter of tens of thousands of Sudanese civilians. With the RSF poised to seize another Sudanese city, will the UK make the same mistakes again?